Welcome back. Egypt condemns the Israeli military occupation and operations in Gaza Strip, while warning, of course, of a humanitarian crisis in the region. To discuss this in more details over the phone, we have Ambassador Medhat Miligy, former Assistant Foreign Minister. Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Ambassador. So how can Egypt's stance show its historic role as a mediator?
Well, actually, I think that Egypt's condemnation today reflects its consistent role as a guardian and custodian of stability in this conflict. For many decades, Cairo has been the main door through which peace efforts have to pass. Starting from Camp David and all along, countless ceasefires in Gaza, or in the most recent prisoner negotiations. So Egypt is always sitting at the crossroads. It has first the Rafah crossing. It has direct lines of communication with both Palestinian factions and Israel. It has the credibility with Arab and international partners. So when Egypt speaks, it's not just an emotional outburst. It is a voice of a country that has carried the weight of this conflict on its shoulders for decades. And even normal Egyptians, ordinary Egyptians, know this, that their country is the one that keeps away the fire from spreading across the whole region.
How far can this affect the global efforts just to stop such an escalation?
Well, would you please raise your voice a little bit? I can't hear you clearly.
Yes, I'm talking about this role Egypt is playing, and how far can it affect the global side when it comes to the idea of how to influence stopping such an escalation?
Well, I think Egypt knows that it cannot alone stop this war. And actually, I think there is no single country who can, except one, and we will come to that later, but for the time being, I mean, all over the world, I don't think there is one country that can, all alone, by itself, can push this peace talks, as we can call them, if there is any peace hope in a near future. However, Egypt can mobilize, it can open gates for aid, it can even shame the international community into action. But once again, let me be honest here. The decisive factor have always been the United States. The decision in Washington is the one that is going either to escalate this war or to stop it. When the U.S. tells Israel to stop, Israel has to listen. It's sole provider of weaponry, or even the largest provider of weapons. And when Washington gives a blank check, Israel push forward. This is a brutal reality that we have all to comprehend, that the decision comes always from the United States. Egypt understands this and works tirelessly to convince Washington that endless war in Gaza is not just an immoral war, but it's a threat even to American interests in the region. Because any chaos here, it means chaos everywhere, in oil markets, in the Suez Canal, in the migration flows, even in terrorism risks. So Egypt diplomacy works hand in hand with the international pressure. But the missing piece is always a real and serious and consistent U.S. leverage on Israel. And without that, any effort, no matter how sincere it is, from Egypt or even any other entity, will not succeed because the United States blocks it, just as it blocks any condemnation, any serious condemnation on Israel from the Security Council of the United Nations. So the situation has to be clear for everyone. It is not a lack of effort from Egypt, but it is a blocking of this effort to reach its goals because of Washington and what it does with this impunity and unconditional support to Israel.
Well, despite of the fact that many countries condemns all what is going on in Gaza, but still when it comes to the international level, or some of the countries or leadership, well, let's say that how far can we describe the current situation? They still cannot stop this aggression, or they cannot stop such a kind of violation of the international law.
Well, I think that there are already mechanisms that are there. They're on paper, actually, and they're perfect. And there are tens of initiatives, most of them drafted by Egypt with the help of the Qataris, and some of them are just Egyptian efforts. And we tried with the Israelis in a direct way, since we have relations with Israel, and that's what I said previously. But let's be frank here. Whether we are talking about any UN resolutions or any initiative from the side of Egypt, or even the international courts like the International Court of Justice or the International Criminal Court, why nothing is succeeding? Simply because there is no political power from Israel and, of course, from the United States, as I said in my last remark. So once again, the mechanisms are there on paper, but in reality they collapse when big powers use their veto or use their blocking to condemn Israel or to put any real measures and concrete measures on Israel to comply with the international law. How can Egypt force Israel? I mean, unless we supply Israel with ours, which of course we are not doing. But the only country that is doing this is the United States, and it has the power to tell Israel if it wants to stop. So the idea is that the United States does not want this, because it can do it if it wants to. So the absence of a political will from the side of the United States put us all in this dilemma. And I believe that Israel will continue its aggression, and it will continue its hostility, not just towards the Palestinians, but towards all the Arab countries, as long as it does not fear from these countries any serious reaction. So it will continue. And I think the most important role here is not Israel, but it's the United States. We have to put things the way they are, and this is what I'm doing right now.
Well, talking about the current situation, and we have the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres giving a speech regarding the current situation in Gaza, and talking about such a humanitarian crisis. So how far can this help, or just give a space for countries to shift, those who are supporting the Israeli military occupation, to shift from this opinion?
Well, diplomacy is one good thing, actually, and what Mr. Guterres is doing is using his multilateral diplomacy in order to make it clear for everyone that there is a crisis and that it has to be addressed. But once again, as I'm saying, I mean, we've seen the United Nations failing over 58 times, according to my knowledge, of American veto to block any Israeli condemnation or any and to continue with Israeli impunity. So even Mr. Guterres, and although he represents the conscience of the world as the Secretary General of the United Nations, but I believe that alone he cannot, without the help once again of the United States. The United States is using the United Nations according to what it means. When it wants the United Nations to issue something, it just allows it to pass. If it doesn't want, then it won't allow it to pass. And it's as simple as that. And that's why what Mr. Guterres is doing is just a diplomatic effort that is really praised, and we appreciate it from him, but he cannot, because he doesn't have the power, a military power or anything. And besides his words that are strong and worth to be listened to. But what if the countries do not want to listen? We are in a serious dilemma today. because all what we've seen in the last 2 years and the continuous Israel behavior in the region, and as I said, not just against the Palestinians, although it's the worst case, but even against all the other Arab countries, is always supported by the United States. We've seen recently, the latest attack of Israel on an Arab country, an Arab and independent and sovereign country, which is Qatar. And the United States only permitted a declaration, like a press release actually, from the Security Council without even mentioning the name of Israel. This is the maximum that the United States would allow. So accordingly, even with the serious effort and the sincere effort of Mr. Guterres, I don't think it will reach its goal, because the United States will block it to reach its destination, unfortunately.
So finally, and just to wrap it up, do you think all these escalations will hinder the process of negotiations or the ceasefire that we are talking about for a long-term plan for Palestine?
Well, actually, the plans, as I said, is there. On paper, we have everything we need. Just what we need is someone to sit in front of the Palestinian on the table to negotiate this, whether through someone or directly. The Israelis are missing. They're not, how come that Israel wants peace while it tried to kill all the negotiators of breaking a deal? It's absurd. Israel does not want peace. We have always said this, and many observers have made this point very sure, that the last of Israel's interest is the hostages. The hostages are just a reason to continue its genocide against the Palestinian people.
Right.
This is what they really want, is to deport the Palestinians outside of their territories and to annex this land, whether to create this Riviera or to even seize it and build more and more settlements and killing, and totally killing and massacring the two-state solution. This is what Israel is doing. So unless I have someone right in front of me on the table, on the negotiating table, to discuss the future of this area, since it is the occupying force, then I have to
Ambassador,
and they don't want to sit. So how can any peace initiative or any effort for a ceasefire reach its destination as long as they don't have a partner to discuss it with? And this is the situation.
Right, Ambassador Medhat Miligy, former Assistant Foreign Minister, thank you very much for joining us. And with this, we come to the end of our breakfast show for today. Thank you all for joining us, and stay tuned for more coming up on Nile TV International.